is Fiona Campbell, and welcome. Lots of new faces here, which is great. I've been working with neuro-linguistic programming specifically for business and coaching for over 30 years. So one of the things that we look at here, this is a really, how it works is I pick something that I want to share with you to show how we use NLP skills for business and coaching. We then go into breakout rooms. So there's a little bit of networking element here as well. You go into breakout rooms, and we're going to breakout rooms for 7 minutes. It's all speed. It's for 7 minutes. And then we come back and we get you 1 or 2 people just to feedback on what they're taking away. And what I'd like to do from this evening is when we come back in from the breakout room, if you could put in the chat where you're from and what you've taken away from this session, because it's always nice to record that to be able to see what people are taking away. Okay, so one of the things about NLP, let me first of all explain what NLP is. Who here is not NLP trained? Put your hand up if you're not NLP trained. Okay, that's good. So quite a few people are not NLP trained. Who knows about NLP? Hands go, no, but I'm not quite sure I know. That's okay. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the wonderful thing about it, it's the way that we process it. We can break down how we create behavior. So NLP is looking at the methodology of how we create behavior. We're looking at how someone does something, not why they're doing something. So the beauty about using these skills for business and coaching is you can listen to the language someone's using. You can watch the behavior of someone, because we now know from neuroscience that our communication is 20 to 30% the words that we use, and it's 70 to 80% our voice tone and body posture. If you're actually able to have the skills of looking at the non-verbal and listening, it's not just the non-verbal, is listening and looking, but also when you can take the language that people are using and understand what's happening in their inside world through that language. So that's really what we teach. So this is an incredible advanced communication skill that's used for coaching, and it's used for leadership development. So tonight we're going to be looking at imposter syndrome. So it's changing the way you think about imposter syndrome. So let me just share this for a moment. These are some of the things that people will ask people. So do you struggle to accept you deserve the success you've worked hard for? Do you think you just get lucky? I just got my job because I was lucky. I just got my clients because I was lucky. I built a really successful business just because I was lucky. Do you believe that anyone can do what you can do? Don't be silly. Everyone can do that. Do you think that you've only succeeded because people have helped you? Do you struggle with being a perfectionist? Do you believe that it's not okay to fail? Do you play down your achievements? And we know that a lot of women in business do this. I do a lot of corporate training and a lot of leadership development training, and a lot of women in business, they do not own their achievements. A KPMG study finds that 75% of female executives across industries have experienced imposter syndrome in their careers. So what we're looking at here is something that's been given a name. It's this name of imposter syndrome. However, can you go to www.impostersyndrome and buy 5 kilos? Or can you buy 10 litres of imposter syndrome? No, because actually imposter syndrome is a label that people put very often on themselves that determines how they think. I will say to people, have you been medically diagnosed with imposter syndrome? Some people have been medically diagnosed with imposter syndrome. That's a different thing altogether. But we're talking about the general use in business. Oh, I have imposter syndrome. I have this, I have that, I have the next thing. So what we're looking at here is just helping you to think about that and think a little bit differently. This type of self-limiting belief could be holding you back in business and stopping you celebrating and enjoying the success you have worked hard to deserve. The good news is that it's possible for you to change this way of thinking and start stepping into your well-deserved power. Imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon in which individuals doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent fear of being exposed as frauds, even when they are competent and successful. Being authentic can be a powerful tool in overcoming imposter syndrome, and embracing your authentic self can help combat imposter syndrome. Now, we don't give any, there's no handouts or anything here, so if you want to take photographs, feel free to do. Everyone that's registered, you'll get recordings of this, so you can go for it again. But just look at this first paragraph. Imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon in which individuals doubt their accomplishment and have a persistent fear of being exposed as frauds. As NLP professionals, we then ask the question, so how are they doing that? How is someone actually doing that? And I want you to write something down. Lots of you who've worked with me before will know this, but if you're here for the first time, this is good to write down. All behaviour comes from a thought. All behaviour comes from a thought. If you're telling yourself you're no good, if you're telling yourself you're an imposter, guess what? Your body and your behaviour will start to behave in that way. The very simple way to overcome what we know as imposter syndrome. So it's understanding that just by changing your self-talk, changing how you're talking to yourself, changing how you're labeling yourself, goes a long way towards changing this thing that we call imposter syndrome. I'm going to give you 10 tips on how you can change it. So self-acceptance, first thing we look at is self-acceptance. I used to assist Paul McKenna. Has anyone heard of Paul McKenna? He's doing lots at the moment. Paul McKenna he's been working with professional and personal development for many years. And once upon a time, he used to run seminars called I Can Make You Thin. And what was interesting about these seminars, just about 400 or 500 people would come along to these seminars, all shapes and sizes, by the way. You had tiny people and slightly bigger people and every shape and size in between. There was no one type of person came along. But we worked with full-length mirrors. And we got people to look at themselves in full-length mirrors. Now, I probably assisted on about 5 or 6 of these seminars. And I would say 95% of people in these seminars couldn't look at themselves in a mirror. And a massive percentage had not seen themselves in a mirror. They would even walk past the reflection like that, not looking at the reflection. And I found that really interesting, because to be able to work with overcoming or thinking differently about this thing called imposter syndrome, you've got to be able to accept who you are. You might not like who you are. And believe me, there's plenty of times when I've looked at myself and gone, okay, I like myself today. So you're seeing me all full makeup and lights and action at the moment, but plenty of times I can look at, right? But I've got to turn around and say, I accept myself of where I am. So self-acceptance of this is who I am. And when you accept yourself, you actually put yourself in a position that you can start to build on that, okay? But first of all, it's being able to absolutely accept yourself. And then it's when you accept yourself for who you are, acknowledge your abilities and limitations, you're less likely to feel like a fraud. This self-acceptance can help you recognize you belong to your role or position. I hear it time and time again in corporate training. Leaders, and as I said before, it's not always women. I'm hearing more and more guys coming out with this now. It used to be thought it was just women, but it's not. But people say, anyone can do what I can do. And I'll say to people, okay, it's leadership development training. I'll say, so list your achievements. Oh, I only helped. And then when we coach and really break things down, we find these people have done amazing things, but they're not owning it. They're not putting their hand up and saying, I owned it. If you don't put your hand up in an organization and own what you're doing, own your successes, someone else is going to own that for you. Who's had that? Put your hand up in your situation. You didn't open your mouth. You went, I'm too shy, I don't want to say. And all of a sudden, someone's up there getting all the glory, all the incredible accolade for something you did. We see that happening time and time again. So can I just say, it's not about being modest. Forget modesty, and it's not arrogant to put your hand up and say, I'm good at this. So start to take a note of your accomplishments so that if you're setting up your own business or looking for progression in work, you're able to say, I achieved this, I achieved that, I achieved the next thing, and own it and be able to say it with a sense of pride. For a lot of people, it's the acceptance first before they can start being really proud about what they do. So being authentic also requires self-awareness. When you tune into your thoughts, feelings, and motivations, you can better understand why you feel like an imposter. And this is what we do in an NLP training. We actually work with ourselves, first of all, to understand how we are doing stuff, what sort of things we're saying to ourselves that's creating the behavior. So just by changing your self-talk, instead of saying, I didn't really have much to do this, you can actually turn around. I contributed 40% of that project. But just letting yourself know, first of all, what you've actually achieved. And then this self-awareness can help you challenge and reframe negative self-perceptions. Who has discussions with themselves? Who has arguments with themselves? These internal, we all have these arguments, we all have these discussions with ourselves. It's understanding that you can have one part of yourself saying, I'm no good, but always tune into the other part of you that says, actually, this is what you've done already. Because you've got to be your own coach. You've got to be your own champion. You've got to be the person that really boosts you up, because very often other people won't do that for you. Any comments before we go into the 10 tips? Is this useful for you? Put your hand up if it's useful. Yeah? Seeing nodded hands, fingers going up. Okay, that's fine. So let's look at the 10 tips for reducing the impact of imposter syndrome. First one, stop telling yourself you're an imposter. Simple as it. Just stop telling yourself. Think about it. Would you turn around to your best friend and say you're an imposter? No. Because our own self-talk, especially our self-critic, is huge. So when you've got your own self-critic, it's actually listening to the tone of voice that the self-critic is working in. So stop telling yourself you're an imposter. Change how you think about the term imposter syndrome. Who believes that imposter syndrome's quite a negative term? Put your hand up if you believe imposter syndrome is quite a negative term. Okay. How would it be if it was actually a really positive term? If you turned around and said, oh, I've got that feeling I'm getting a wee bit out of my depth. This is me getting challenged. This is me growing. This is me getting out of my comfort zone. That's just reframing how you, so rather than think, oh, I'm an imposter. Oh, fantastic. I'm starting to feel like an imposter now. That means I'm not quite sure. That means that I'm being challenged, because we've got our comfort zones that we live in. And as we go out of that comfort zone, it can be a bit shaky and scary until we know exactly how things work. And then stop comparing yourself to others. You are your own fabulous, unique success. The number of people that spend their time comparing themselves to others, and especially in this day and age of social media, all these fabulous lives that are going on, it's rubbish. It's all smoke and mirrors for a lot of the time. It's what we actually see. I love it. So Sharon said, comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, because the thing about, and what we get in business is maybe you've stepped into a leadership position, a new leadership position, and you're really, how did I get this? Now, very rarely, now I know it does happen, but it doesn't always happen that people get promoted because they've got a nice smile and nice eyes. We know what can happen, but normally in business, it doesn't happen for very long if someone's incapable of doing their job. But very often new leaders are comparing themselves to highly experienced people. people that have been doing things for many years. I see it in the NLP world. When I'm training people, I get lots of people coming into NLP for the first time. They're not quite sure, and they're comparing themselves to someone like me who's got 30 years experience of using this every single day. So if you're going to compare yourself to where you are now compared to where you were 5 years ago, and start to celebrate the successes with that comparison. Stop assuming that everyone is having an easier, happier, and more successful life than you. People are very good at being able to go into very resourceful states. I'm going through a situation just now with a health situation with my husband, and I've been proving this for the last 7 months. That I'm getting on my work, I'm keeping my state up, I'm really enjoying my work, and it's a lovely boost. But there's a lot going on that sometimes I talk about it, sometimes I don't talk about it, but you never know what's happening in people's lives. And everyone else is not living this glittering, fabulous, wonderful life that you're not part of, that it's just, if only I could be living my life like that. And this is why we're in this day and age, we've really got to identify, we've got to go into sort of the Instagram sparkle that's all out there, the TikTok, because TikTok's a bit more real. But Instagram, some of these influencers, they've got a whole team with them, creating this wonderful illusion of this fabulous life that's going on. You never know what's going on in someone else's world. Reframe mistakes and failure. So one of the pillars of NLP, one of what we call the presuppositions of NLP, is feedback, not failure. Think about it. If there's a huge catastrophe, say there's an air crash, the people in aviation involved in that air crash don't say it's an absolute failure. What they do is they go into what's known as catastrophe mode, catastrophe report mode. And there'll be forensic in taking things, going through that report and finding out what went wrong to make sure it doesn't happen again. Surgeons do that. Driving, the people that are driving. In fact, we're driving very safe cars now because of Formula One racing. Formula One racing drivers died every race practically in the 60s and 70s. And then they got the cars more and more safe to the point that that's come into the mainstream for us. So there's nothing that can't be resolved. There really is nothing that can't be resolved. So it's very much a case of understanding that if something doesn't go the way you want it, so what? In fact, let me do a wee experiment here. I want you to point yourself and say, I am the center of my world. I am the center of my world. I'm the center of my world. There you go. So I'm the center of my world. Okay. So when you're saying I'm the center of my world, I can go, no, I'm the center of my world. We all live in the center of our world. And what can seem like a huge mistake that you've made in work, most people don't notice unless it impacts them directly. Sometimes we're so focused on our own stuff, we think everyone's noticing everything we do. If you make a mistake, oh no, say, right, I made a mistake. Okay, how can I sort it? We know from a sales, I was in sales for 25 years. We know from a sales perspective, customers who've had a big problem where someone's made a big mistake with them, if that problem is sorted out really well, they become even more loyal customers. So mistakes, there's no such thing as failure. It's just feedback. It's a way if you say, okay, that didn't work the way I wanted it to or the way I expected. What can I do different next time? Value your own time and understand boundaries. This is what we come across so often in business. Make sure you let people know your boundaries and value your time. You're not there to be subservient to everyone else in business. And again, we see this a little bit in women leadership, but luckily it's starting to change. Learn to say no. Learn to say no. And we've got all sorts of ways in our training that we teach people to say no very assertively. Yes, I'd love to be able to help you, but... And then say, I've got to do this report. I'll be finished in 4 hours. Come back in 4 hours. So that's a way of saying no, but yes, I'd love to be able to help you, but, because the word but negates everything you've just said. And then we've got what people think of you doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You will have people, especially the more successful you get, you will have people who don't like you. It's as simple as that. And especially where I come from in Scotland, we've got this lovely success mentality in Scotland, not. We have got things, people say to you, who do you think you are? People don't want to hear about success here. Now, I know we've got a few people coming on from the States now, which is completely different mindset. You celebrate success in that part of the world where we are. So your family and friends don't like you changing. Think about it. Once you start changing, once you start becoming successful, it breaks the status quo and other people get nervous and they want to pull you back down. So again, what people think of you doesn't matter. And sometimes you've got to make a decision in business to step away from people that are really critical of you. Share your feelings. We know through the work of Professor Brené Brown that being vulnerable is courageous, and being able to be vulnerable, being able to share your feelings, especially as a leader or a business owner, that is huge because you're connecting with people on a human to human level. And the last one is celebrate your success and be proud of your achievements. I will always say to my coaching clients, I'll say, I want you to list your achievements and I want them in figures if you can, figures and percentages. Because if you can say, I increased this by 20%, I decreased this by 10%, I did this by 15%, I was able to increase sales from such an amount to another amount. When you can give facts and figures backed up with absolute concrete evidence, nobody's going to argue with you. And also, it's really good for building up your portfolio. And I recommend my clients keep a folder with all their achievements in it so that anytime they can bring that into a CV or they can bring it into a bio or anything to let people know. Okay, so I'm going to put you into breakout rooms for 7 minutes and just have a wee chat about, just say hello to each other, just mix everyone up. Please say hello to each other, maybe discuss how you're about the subject of imposter syndrome, and then we'll get a couple of people. Nice to hear a couple of voices when we come back. So I'm just opening all the rooms. Let me see. Okay, so we will see you in 7 minutes' time. Okay, as we get some feedback, just want to put in the chat where you're from and what you got from that. So who would like to feedback on, just I'll take 1 or 2 people, just so you're not hearing my voice all the time, just to feedback on what you were talking about in the rooms or anything that you want to discuss about imposter syndrome. Who'd like to go first?
I'll feedback for our group.
Thank you, Colin.
Fiona. We were talking about how you keep yourself in a loop until you've got things in place, and it's how you break out of that. Otherwise, you're in that perpetual going around and not actually taking the step. Mm-hmm. One thing that I raised and then Shaheen solved it for us was the fact that when our self-talk gets on at us, we don't use the term imposter.
Yeah.
We just say, I can't do so-and-so, I've never done, I've not done that. And as Shaheen said, once you actually realize what you're doing there, then you take a breath and then there you step out. But it's that, I find the difficult bit is that trick of actually noticing, oh, this is what I'm doing. So once you label it, you bring it out, then you're able to move forward. That's the feedback on our discussion.
Okay, thank you. So it's being in that loop of the self-talk. This could, and again, what happens where people do tend to label themselves is when they're talking to other people. Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. And people will actually use, I'm suffering from imposter syndrome. You'll see lots and lots of actors and actresses using that term at the moment. It has become quite trendy. Okay, but thank you for that, Colin. Let me just show you what's coming up, because part of this is to let you know. Look at the NLP, those of you that are NLP trained, we've got the NLP Business Circle Club. And the NLP Business Circle Club, 2 3-hour masterclasses each month, We have, it's the second Tuesday of the month, 12 till 2 UK time. And then it's the fourth Thursday of the month, 1900 to 2100 UK time. Live practice sessions and coaching, video, audio, and workbook archives since 2020. So these are all archives of all the different masterclasses we've been doing on using NLP for business and coaching. So our members can take these workbooks, and lots of our members use these to set up their own workshops. VIP NLP Business Circle Club community, we're just finalising that. We're hoping to be able to launch that tomorrow, the first session tomorrow. We're just still testing it. But basically, it's like a mini LinkedIn where all our members can collaborate, they can talk, and there'll be live Q&A sessions and all sorts of things there. 30% members discount on all courses and coaching. That's $97 a month. And for the next few weeks, if you use coupon code NLP 3024, you will get 30% discount off each month. And then just to remind you, those of you who are not trained in NLP, we've got the dual certification NLP practitioner, business practitioner. That is accredited by the Association of NLP. It's commencing the 7th of March. Early booking offer. The early booking offer closes on the 31st of January. Again, you can get all these links on the professionalgrowthcompany.com, but I will send you the links with the email that comes after this. What questions have you got? We've got a few more minutes. Let me just I can get the link up while we're talking, but let's get some questions. Anything you want to ask about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or anything like that? Because we like to finish at 1:45. So who's got a question?
Fiona, I have a question. It's
yes,
Julie.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah.
See your dual certification there. I'm just wondering, I know last year I did the course with you, myself and Naomi from school,
Yeah.
while we were in school. So if I did the business practitioner, then
you can come on to the coaching part of that. So you did the business. So we do the dual certification. First of all, we have the NLP business practitioners, the first part. It's all done online in modules. And then the second part, we go into the coaching. So what I'll be doing, I'll be sending out links to people about the coach part you can do. So if you've already attended a business practitioner or a practitioner, you can come in and do the coach. Karen, yes, you had a question, Karen?
I do, real quickly. The business certification, does it teach you to run a business or work with business people?
It teaches you how to work with business people.
I see.
But one of the things we do is I've been working for, as I said, 30 years. I help all my students that qualify as coaches. I help them. But there's a little bit that we cover of setting up your own business and working with clients. But what this is really to do, this is all about using your NLP skills for leadership, for business coaching. And also the hours that are in this particular training are enough hours to allow you to get membership of the Coaching Association.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
And anyone who's interested in that, I like to set up a session with you, just a complimentary 45-minute strategy session, so that we can have a chat about what it is you're looking to achieve. Because in this type of training, not everyone gets onto this training. I'm looking for people that really want to make a difference in business. And because this is powerful stuff. Your NLP is really powerful stuff. Okay, but what you can do, you can email me at fiona@theprofessionalgrowthcompany.com, set up a Zoom call.
Okay, thank you.
I've just put in the chat, I've just put the link for the Business Circle Club. And remember, the code for that is NLP 3024, and you get 30% off every month. Next Wednesday, I'm working with the English Cricket Board, and I'll be coming to you from a hotel. And it's becoming more emotionally intelligent. Because what I'm doing with these sessions is I'm looking at topics that are really relatable to business. And then we can work with some of the NLP skills. So I hope that what we've covered tonight has helped. I hope it's been useful. If you've got time, you can just put something in the chat to say what you're taking away. Spread the word, let people know about what we're doing. But thank you very much for coming along, and I'll look forward to seeing everyone soon. So see you next week. Thank you.